I've been a record breaker, taking credit as an educator. I've been known to spit the flows and make a shaky, shaky thing. Popping, locking, stopping, let it hang. Watch us as we drop this hip hop, it's like it stings. We make the whole room drop and everybody sing. We want the funk. We gotta have that funk. We kick it old school, we think we're so cool. We take it back to the past, we gon' act a fool. Up jumps the middle finger, make my Jaeger just a little.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Sports Buzz, a Fanatical View. I am your host, Scott D. Lewis, here live in studio, Comcast Cable Channel 23, downtown Danbury, Connecticut, on this 30th day of August. Where has the summer gone? Where have we been? My goodness, longest stretch, I do believe, ever, as far as us being on a break. We basically bagged out on all you people out there in TV land for the whole summer. According to my records, I think it was 6/28, so a full 2 months. The end of June was the last time we were here. I remember we were breaking down at that time. The group stage had just ended for the World Cup, so you know how long ago that was. I also remember I was making mention of the fact that a record high from our friend of the show, one-time sit-in guest here, Silent Bill from Colorado, was recorded in Fort Collins, Colorado the day before the last show in the end of June. And guess what? A record, all-time record high, hottest day ever in the history of Boston was recorded yesterday. So the heat wave basically encompassed both sides of the country, probably all parts of the world as well. And it went from the beginning of summer, it's continued on. Today was a little better. The last few days were as brutal as they get. We'll get to the U.S. Open in a second and some of the players that had to walk out because they couldn't handle the heat. But yeah, it's been a while. We're happy to be back. Sorry to have let you down all these months. I know you've all been out there saying, where is my Sports Buzz fix? Well, we're back and we're going to try to get things going just before Labor Day and football season getting underway, the final month of the pennant races, everything. We're going to get to some stuff. So we are here and happy to be back. Let's see. Our number is 203, and somehow our camera really got a little crooked there on the thing. 203-792-4101 is the number if you would like to call into the show and say, why are you guys off balance here? Bob is running the director's chair as he is sitting in for Mike Toohey, who might be back next week. Hopefully this is Bob's first time working with the new system. We've got a new board in there, switcher board. We got a new sound system. But my right-hand man, Mr. Bob Rowe Jr., is out in the control room directing. His show, Spotlight on Tuesday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 12, is back up and running. He was off for a while this summer, but I think he's been getting some shows back up as well. Mike's show, I think, is still up and running. Expose Cinema, Friday nights at 9, Wednesdays at 1. We are joined by a recent trainee. He's been with us a couple times. He's running the audio. Tyler from Paparag, who started school 3 days ago. That was a little early. I know Bethel and some of the schools around here started yesterday. Some started today. Some have already had early dismissals and cancellations, I believe, because of the heat. So they're off to a great start after all the snow days from last year. Some of the schools, I think, were even carrying over days from last year, or there was a big possibility of that happening. So, and then the heat wave to start the year. Things are just terrible, I tell you, all over the place. But Tyler is back, and he's helping us out, so good to have him since we are shorthanded on the set. Jenna, Connor, and Jolene also, all in the family, is here, and we see there Jenna and Connor getting into the action this summer down at Rogers Park with the Westerners. Westerners, well, you know, didn't make the playoffs, but I will give them credit for keeping their season alive to the last week or so after the mid-season swoon they had after the great start. But look at the intensity on these two, gutting it out. Who won that race, I wonder? Looked like Jenna had the edge. Connor didn't want to see that happen, and losing to his sister, that would have been horrible. All right, let's get the show moving. Let's see what we got to talk about. The U.S. Open is underway this week, and it has been an absolute heat check there. They caught a little reprieve today. Today was more like a regular hot summer day. The last 3 days, basically first 3 days of the tournament, were as bad as it gets. And Simona Halep certainly didn't rise up to the challenge. And here we see Novak Djokovic, because we did miss Wimbledon while we were away. And we'll mention that right now real quick. The Wimbledon was the last big tennis event that took place during the time we were gone. We did catch the French Open, but Djokovic is back. So now we had last year, as Djokovic was injured a little bit, and I think the phone is ringing. So maybe I'll just go ahead and pick that up right in here, see what we got. Hello, this is Sports Buzz. You are live and on the air. Who is this?
This is Rich. I do a show called Who's Telling the Truth on Channel 23.
Is this
I
Rich?
just want to show my support for community TV.
Okay.
And I noticed that you mentioned it's very warm out.
It is warm out.
I'm sure you'll agree that the global warming is not a hoax like Trump has claimed it is.
I certainly do agree with that topic. We occasionally dive into politics here. We like to stick mostly to sports. I have certainly had my times on the show where I have expressed my disbelief at things that come out of the White House, and that would be one of them for sure.
Beautiful. Okay, we're on the same page. So,
hopefully.
Hey, how long does it take you to set up your studio? How long does it take to put all that stuff out?
You know, you'd be surprised. We are a finely tuned machine down here. We've been doing it for a while, so it breaks down in a matter of minutes, actually. It sets up 15, 20 minutes or so, but we got a system down.
You got a lot of stuff up. Hey, it's good to see you. Good luck. Keep rocking and have fun.
All right, thanks for calling in.
Take care, buddy.
All right, take it easy. All right, we got a little caller who certainly thinks there is something to the heat and what the tennis players are dealing with and what everybody out here just walking around in the world is dealing with. So maybe we can get that message out, and the politicians who run things and who have been doing away with the great climate change policies of the past regime could get that message and say, you know, the people think there's something going on, and all you have to do is walk outside and you'll see that there certainly is a difference. I mean, for the first time ever, ice is melting in the Arctic. That's got to tell you something. Sharks are swimming in areas that they never swim in. Cape Cod had a great white shark washed up on the shore up in Provincetown this past couple weeks. There's been more shark sightings in different places because the temperatures of the water are different and they're swimming in different areas. I could go on and on, but let's get back to the sports. We were mentioning we missed Wimbledon and Djokovic last year. Remember, on the tennis scene, it was Federer and Nadal were back and while Djokovic was injured. But Djokovic is now back, so that means big three in action. Andy Murray did return from injury at the U.S. Open. He fell last night in a pretty good match. I watched a decent amount of the end of that match against Carrasco. But it still really is the big three. And if Djokovic is back on form, he won that set against Kevin Anderson. But the semifinal was the epic match at Wimbledon where he beat Nadal 6-4, 3-6, 7-6, 3-6, and 10-8 over 2 days that took. And then in the women's side at Wimbledon, we saw Serena Williams, speaking of being back, making it all the way to the final. But she was not able to win it as Angelique Kerber won her third Grand Slam, the German player, 6-3, 6-3 over Serena. Serena, we know, was off for a while as she was pregnant and dealing with childbirth and becoming a mother, but she is back and she's going to try to win this U.S. Open through the heat. She is set up to play her sister in the third round early for those two. I think that match is tonight, as a matter of fact, Venus versus Serena for the 30th time. Over 20 years. Unbelievable. The first time these two faced off was at the Australian Open in 1998. Unbelievable. The players in many of the sports, but certainly you could say it about tennis, play for so much longer. And tennis has really changed quite a bit as far as how long the players play. Simona Halep became the first #1 seed to be knocked out in the first round as she went out on day one, so that was not good for her. But other than that, pretty good. The men's side looks pretty good. The next round or two has some great potential matchups, so the tennis is really doing well, and the temperature should be better this weekend, so maybe they won't be. There was 5 walkover or 5 withdrawals, I guess it was, yesterday, as the players couldn't handle the heat. Other big events we missed while we were gone, the British Open. Speaking of Wimbledon, let's stay over there over the pond. British Open. And, you know, we've talked about why the golf writers and the sports commentators have given so much print and so much media time, television, to Tiger Woods, who has not won a major championship since 2008. And I got to say, he had reason to be in the news this summer, because he was right there, actually held a lead on Sunday at a major at the British Open. But in the end, it was the Italian, Francesco Molinari, becoming the first ever Italian to win not only a major, but the British Open. So that, you know, with my Italian heritage, I always love to see an Italian doing well on a big stage in any sporting event, and it was Francesco Molinari, which means that Tiger Woods, who started the round behind, still not only has not won a major since 2008, but he has not come from behind on a Sunday ever. He was in the mix as well at the PGA Championship, and Molinari held off a good field at the British. Rory and Rose were 2 behind him, Woods 3, and Spieth was 4. It was tough. And then at the PGA Championship, it was Brooks Koepka finishing at -16, winning the PGA Championship, his 3rd title. He won the U.S. Open earlier in the year. He's a back-to-back U.S. Open championship, as he won it last year as well, winning the PGA and the U.S. Open in the same year, becoming only the 5th player to ever do that, winning both. And there we see Brooks now, as we saw those good pictures of Francesco Molinari. But he becomes only the 5th player ever to win both in the same year. Gene Sarazen in 1922, Ben Hogan in 1948, Jack Nicklaus in 1980, a magical year for Jack, and Tiger did it in 2000 before Brooks Koepka does it this year. Tiger, as I mentioned, no comebacks ever when he trailed after the first 3 rounds heading into Sunday. I always found that odd, even during his illustrious part of his career. My father would always say he's no Arnie's Army, because Arnold's Army would always charge Palmer up the back 9 on Sundays for a late comeback for wins, but Tiger never did it. And the announcers always used to say the most intimidating thing in sports was Tiger lurking on a leaderboard on a Sunday. If he never had a comeback, why was that intimidating? I always found that interesting that they would say that. All right, other great international events that we missed this summer, as we're going to get through those and get to baseball and maybe mention a little preseason football in a minute. Tour de France was another first, as a Welshman did it for the first time ever. Over 100 years of Tour de France is going on, and Geraint Thomas of Team Sky, who has had the champion Chris Froome for the last 3 years and 4 out of the last 5, I think it is, as Chris Froome won in 13, 2015, 16, and 17. Chris Froome did finish 3rd, part of Team Sky's dominance of the Tour de France, but it was Thomas this time becoming the first Welshman ever in the history of the Tour de France to get it done. It was a good race. The competition was close. And Mr. Mike Met Maniac, the Met Man, McFadden walks into the studio. So now I'm going to have somebody to chat with as he's going to get his headset on and the microphone up. So it'll be maybe another phone call or two. 203-792-4101 is that number. But we get the Met Maniac here getting his microphone on off camera. But so, yes, that was interesting. The thing I was looking forward to the most, and it was interesting that we got 2 firsts in the British Open and then at the Tour de France. The thing I was looking forward to the most was possibly we would get a first ever champion at the World Cup. And we almost did, as Croatia and Belgium made the semifinal. Croatia ended up making the final, but they were not able to get their first ever championship and bring a new champion to the world at the World Cup. And what was a tremendous, tremendous tournament. The final left little to be desired as the official got involved early, and France went on to win their 2nd ever championship, 4-2 over a gritty, gutty Croatian team, the smallest country ever to make a final. And it was tremendous. They had 2 penalty kick wins, including one against the host nation, Russia, who had the absolute thrilling penalty kick victory over Spain, one of the powerhouses. And they also beat Denmark in a penalty kick situation. England, a longtime team who had always suffered heartbreaking penalties, they got by Colombia in a penalty situation. there was thrilling moments after thrilling moments throughout the entire tournament. But again, in the final, the official marred the game by calling a penalty against a Croatian player when a French player clearly dove untouched, setting up the free kick in one of the most dangerous spots on the field just outside the box, and give credit to the French player for putting the ball in a tough spot, and it created an own goal as the Croatian player headed it in past his goalkeeper for the early 1-0 lead. Croatia tied it as they continue to demonstrate gritty play, but then just before halftime, a questionable handball in the box and an inadvertent hand by a defender on the Croatian side set up a penalty kick for the 2-1 lead before halftime, and then the game was really played at a different way because of those two goals, and France did get 2 goals in the second half, legitimate goals, and went on to that 4-2 victory. So good job by France. I mean, tremendous tournament by them, and it was a great tournament, but the final was disappointing to say the least once the official got involved. Mike Maniac, you all mic'd up over there. How you doing there, Mike?
I'm doing okay. How are you?
Not too bad. How's your summer been?
Hot.
Hot is the word of the day, and hot it still is out there. I have been melting away. I'm surprised. There was times I thought I was just going to turn into a puddle. It just dripped off into nothing.
I know the feeling.
I mean, the heat and the rain and the humidity. I mean, talk about dampness all abound. Mowing the lawn was a nightmare this summer, remains a nightmare. But we're going to continue on. I'm going to just talk real quick. I will mention also the interesting thing about the World Cup. The powerhouses went out. Argentina early, Brazil early in the elimination games, and Germany did not even make it out of the group stage. I mentioned Spain also went out early to Russia. And I will say, as far as viewing goes, as efforts go by the viewing public, I had to give credit where credit was due to the Russian fan base for their efforts in pulling along a Russian team, which was the lowest ranked team in the tournament, as far as they did. And it really was just an incredible rooting performance by them. And that was part of the thrill of watching these soccer tournament games, just the fans and the passion and all that. But I do want to mention quickly MLS before we get to the baseball and a little football. Revolution, New England, winless in their last 8 games. I know Bob has talked about how the Danbury Westerners, the local NECBL team, started hot and then collapsed. My Revolution started hot and are collapsing big time. And speaking of bad calls, their last 2 games, one of the most erroneous calls I've ever seen. I am not a fan of this video assist review, as that is not going good. How much time we got? Somebody's popping in here, maybe, or we got a microphone problem. Okay. Candy, who is helping out as we deal with all the new setups, all the new situations. So we'll hopefully get Mike's microphone up and running. But the Revolution winless in their last 8, 29 points. They have fallen out of the playoff picture at 7th. Montreal's ahead of them right now with 33 points to their 29. The Philadelphia Union, who beat them twice in the past recent games, 36 points as Bob jumps to the baseball pictures. What's up with that, Bob? And Columbus ahead of them at 40. The New York teams, NYC FC at 48, Red Bulls at 52, and the Atlanta United FC, the second year in the league, is leading the division at 54. How about that? They're drawing 70,000 fans. And we got Mike's microphone under control. We think so? Yes, sir. Okay. They have burst onto the scene and have done well. So the Atlanta United, really an incredible story. And maybe we got something, maybe. How's everything doing? Go ahead, Mike. Say something. Let the audience hear you if you're there, because I'm about to mention the NFL. If they can hear you, we'll do a mic check while you're talking to me, maybe. What do you think? Should Sam Darnold be the starter for your New York Jets?
Well, I think the since they traded Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, big trade yesterday.
They kept Teddy Bridgewater. Let him start a few games during the season, kind of let him get his.
All right, so it sounds like Candy's coming back in here. That means.
Evidently, they felt differently about that guy.
Mike is not on. All right.
Okay, and
All right, we got him now.
Okay.
All right, so yeah, you think that you would have liked to see them keep Bridgewater,
absolutely.
but now that he is gone, they kind of, I heard some things on the radio. Make the trade now. Somebody offered the 3rd-round pick. You don't know if you'll get anything better than that later. But you thought maybe he could be the starter. But do you think Darnold should be the starter now at this point? Who's the guy? They got the guy from Minnesota, right? Or no?
No, they have McCown is the backup.
Oh, it's McCown.
So my thing is that if you're gonna go with these 2 guys, because you can't it's too late to bring really anybody else in to start. You have to. I think you're forced to kind of go with Darnold.
McCown was your guy last year. Then.
Exactly.
And he was decent.
Yeah, but the thing is that if you're gonna have him, I think they want him to be more of a mentor rather than a starting, as a starter.
Right.
I think if you're going to do that, you might as well let Darnold start, see what he can do, let him get his feet wet. If he falters, let's say if you get 5-6 games into the season and he's not playing so well, you can always go back to McGowan. But I think since you got rid of Teddy Bridgewater, you might as well start Darnold.
All right, that's the Jet Maniac. McFadden's taking what's happening in Jet camp. Patriots interesting camp, not too much. The wide receiver depth seems to be the hot topic right now. We know Julian Edelman coming back from injury and suspended for the first 4 games for substance of some kind. It's been a mystery as to what it was. Of course, he claims innocence, but he will be out for the first 4 games. And they had turnover with the wide receiver position. But, they've got some guys that they've brought in, Philip Dorsett, Cordarrelle Patterson, and, Gronkowski's healthy starting the year at tight end. I think they'll figure out a way to get things done. Amendola's gone and Brandon Cooks are gone. Amendola is a tough loss as they let him go down to Miami. And speaking of wide receivers, Bob's team, the G-Men, lock up. I don't know if I want to call him oft injured. He was certainly injured a lot last year. We know he's off controversy, though, often dealing with antics. Odell Beckham gets the huge mega contract deal. I think it's a question mark myself. I think he's a head case. I've often said he's a huge playmaker, but if you look at his stats, he has a lot of games where he has 1-2 catches. I like the guys. I mean, like Edelman will get you 9, 10, 12 catches throughout the game, move the chains, and you figure out ways to make big plays. But he certainly can break up a game with a big play at any moment, and they're going to be happy to have him back. They retooled their offensive line, and they've done some things. So the Giants, we think maybe should be better. It's got to be make or break time for Eli Manning, and they have the new coach as well. So interesting times, but there's another week and preseason. Next week we'll break down football a little bit more. I will mention college football did get underway last week mildly with my Colorado State Rams losing. That wasn't good. They got their big, huge rivalry game tomorrow night against Colorado, the Trust Fundalo Buffaloes. UConn plays tonight, as a matter of fact, against UCF. And then one big game I noticed this weekend, Michigan versus Notre Dame. All right, baseball, day baseball today. Brewers beat the Reds 2-1, I think on a walk-off in the 11th. Indians beat the Twins 5-3. Detroit at the Yankees tonight. Red Sox at the Chi Sox. What kind of schedule is this for Red Sox? They go down to Tampa for a 3-game series. They come back home for a 2-game series against Miami, and then they head out to Chicago for a 4-game series. That is like an obscene schedule, completely ridiculous. The Yankees, I think, have been home for like 3 weeks since that 4-game sweep against the Red Sox. Was that, Major League Baseball giving them a little bit of a chance? They get their brains beat in up in Boston for 4 straight days, and then they got, like 17 out of 20 games at home since then. I mean, what kind of schedule has the Yankees been having? They're finally going to head on the road soon, and they're going to have some tough games, I think, at Atlanta. I know they're going to be at Oakland and at Seattle, who are trying to stay alive in the wild card. Really some wild stuff. Good games abound tonight with implications. Pirates at Cardinals. Cardinals, who have all of a sudden got real hot after they fired their manager. Cubs at Braves. Braves still in first place. Cubs best record in the National League as they have gotten hot. They pulled a swindle move against the Nationals. What happened to the Nationals this year? They fell out of standing and they traded your boy, Daniel Murphy, to the Cubs. I mean, that was surprising.
Absolutely.
And Oakland and Seattle played tonight. Oakland lost, I think, 2 out of 3 in a battle for first place against Houston. Oakland actually had moved into first place for Houston for a little while, but Houston is back out in front. Oakland still in the wild card spot. Seattle trying to keep their season alive. Arizona and the Dodgers battling it out in a wild, wild race out west. Let me make some mention of some of these things. Astros 82-51, 8-2 in their last 10 since Altuve came back and some other guys. Astros getting healthy, getting hot. They're actually on a better pace record-wise than they were last year when they won the World Series, which seems surprising because they have been a little up and down this year. Oakland at 80-54, 2.5 behind the Yankees, who do maintain, or no, 2.5 behind Houston. Seattle 74-59. They have fallen apart since, what do you know, Robbie Cano came back from his 80-game suspension. They're kind of out of the mix. Oakland, I don't think is going to be able to catch the Yankees. Yankees remain 4.5 up on the wild card over Oakland at 84-49. Red Sox 92-42. But really, they got swept for the first time this season at Tampa. They had 2 3-game losing streaks, only 3 3-game losing streaks all year. 2 of them came in the last week and a half. They did get right with 2 wins, but then Price got nailed with a line drive off a bat last night on his pitching wrist. That's not good. Sale's been out. The bullpen's been shaky, but they remain 7.5 up in large part because of that 4-game sweep over the Yankees in the National League. Braves still up 3.5 on the Phillies, who've struggled a little bit lately. And then the Cubs, I mentioned, are 4.5 up, so they're in good shape over the Cardinals. Brewers also 4.5 out. So the wild card is where it's out. Cardinals and Brewers tied, and then the Rockies 1.5 out, Phillies 3 out, Dodgers 2 out, and Arizona is holding off the Rockies and the Dodgers, who are a half a game behind them. So wild races in the National League. Next week we should be back, I think, again. We'll get a little bit more into a football preview and get more baseball. We had to catch up on a lot of that international stuff and the big events we missed this summer. We'll also keep track of the U.S. Open and what happens there as this continues next week, and we see if maybe, you know, Nadal, Djokovic, can Federer get another one? Will Serena be able to win one as she is trying to get back into form after motherhood has sidetracked her a little bit? But we're happy to be back. We're happy to have some viewers out there who stuck with us, and we'll try to get back on a regular rhythm. Happy holiday, Labor Day. Stay cool out there, and we will catch you next time. Take it easy.